book dwellers? I'm Colleen, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my top 5 most anticipated reads on my TBR. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so these books are in no particular order, and most of them are not out yet, but they're going to be out in like early 2019. So I'm just gonna jump right in and in a random order let you guys know the books that the books that I want to read the most on my TBR. So the first book that I'm really excited to read on my TBR is The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy by Mackenzie Lee. This is a sequel to The Gentleman's Guide of Vice and Virtue. Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue follows Monty as he traverses around Europe with his sister and his friend soon, who he has like a huge crush on. This book was phenomenal. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars just because I felt like some of the things in the book were a little too easy for them to accomplish, but it was fun, it was hilarious. I've been recommending this book to so many people, and my favorite character in Gentleman's Guide is Felicity. I think it's Felicity, I don't know. But my favorite character is her, and I really like just kind of how badass she is, and how she is not taking anything. I mean, like, her goal is to destroy the patriarchy, and like, what year does this take place in? Like Victorian times. So she's out there like trying to destroy the patriarchy. She doesn't like the fact that she has to be a lady, and she just wants to go study and become a doctor, but unfortunately that is not what the time period allows. The other cool thing about her is that she is ace, or a lot of people believe that she is ace, which is really cool, and as an ace person, I think it would be really cool to have that representation, especially in a story that I love so much. So The Lady's Guide takes place a year after the first book, and it follows Felicity as she's returned home to England with 2 main goals in mind. Her goal is to avoid this marriage that she's being forced into, and to attend medical school, which is really cool. I love her so much. But then a window of opportunity opens for her. Turns out a doctor that she looks up to a lot is marrying an old friend of hers in Germany. So she thinks that this man can change her future, but she's able, through some mysterious woman's help, to be able to pay her way. So basically, she's just being awesome, trying to like win her rights back, basically. Avoiding marriage and just learning as much as possible. And of course, just like in Gentleman's Guide, she accidentally becomes a part of something bigger than herself. But I'm really excited to see her in that book. The book came out this last week. I really want to go pick up a copy. So hopefully soon I can read it, because I love the first book so much, and I really just want to see what Felicity has in store. And I also really like the cover. Like, it's purple and beautiful, and I just love Victorian England, and I'm excited. I'm very excited. So the next book that is really anticipated for me on my TBR is The Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. This is the sequel to Strange the Dreamer, which I do not have with me because Corey is lucky enough to go meet Laini Taylor next week, I think. So she's getting it signed for me, which is really cool. We both fell in love with the first book. We both sobbed a lot. I read this book, the first book, during our readathon last year, and I loved it. It's just such a magical world that she's able to create, and it's also just kind of such a cool philosophical piece as well, and it keeps you on your toes. So, like I said, Muse of Nightmares is a sequel, so I won't go into details about what that specific book will be about, but Strange the Dreamer follows Laszlo Strange, and he basically for his whole life has been dreaming. Strange the Dreamer. Wow. So for his whole life he's been dreaming of this place called Weep, and basically the town, the mythical place, the place called Weep, the name has been lost forever. No one really knows what the actual name is. Corey's way better at describing books than me, so if you want to really hear what Strange the Dreamer is about, go watch one of her videos where she talks about it. I think it's in one of her wrap-ups. But basically, he's been obsessed with this mythic lost city, and an opportunity presents himself to go try and find this city, and he does whatever he can to get into this. And he encounters a lot on the way. Again, I don't really want to give away too much about this book because I do think it's better if you don't know that much about it when you go into it. I just want to say that it's really, really good. It has characters that you love, characters that you hate, characters that are creepy. Like, it's just so good, and I can't wait to read the second one. It's been on my list since I've read the first one. So yeah, I highly recommend reading the Strange the Dreamer series by Laini Taylor. I'm so excited. So the next book in my TBR is like really predictable. Again, if you have watched almost every video on this channel, I feel like we always talk about the Grishaverse, which is fine. It's just like a slight problem. My next most anticipated book, if not the most anticipated book I have on my TBR right now, is King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. This book, oh my god, oh, so hyped. This book comes out January 29th, and it follows Nikolai, who is a character who appears in other books in the Grishaverse. I will not say which books, but he appears in several of the books. And he's a fan favorite. He's probably my favorite character in the whole, well, he's one of my favorite characters in the Grishaverse. He's just so sarcastic and witty, and he's such a funny personality that I'm very, very much excited to read a book where he is the main character and the main focus. Again, this is a book in the Grishaverse. It's a little unclear right now if you have to have read the Grisha trilogy or the Six of Crows duology for this book to make sense. I'm not really sure. I assume that you probably can read this as a standalone, but I feel like you would get a lot more out of it if you read the Grisha trilogy and the Six of Crows duology. Just like, you know, when you read Six of Crows, it's so much better to read the Grisha trilogy first, just because the world is built for you. I really don't know how to describe this book without it being spoilery. Basically, he is going to, he's trying to fix his country after they've gone through a civil war, and he's trying to like build it back up, and he ends up working with a young Grisha squaller and a monk to try and journey to the places in Ravka, which is his country, where to try and vanquish this terrible legacy that's within him. There's not that much information out about this book. It is kind of like, you know, lock and key, but I'm very, very excited to read it. Again, I love Nikolai. So yeah, if you're interested in reading King of Scars, I highly recommend reading the Grisha trilogy, at least. The Grisha trilogy is not my favorite thing that Leigh Bardugo has written. I much prefer Six of Crows or Language of Thorns, but it's still a good trilogy. I have faults with it, but like I think overall it's like a 4-star trilogy. Like, it's like I get really mad at some points, but overall I really liked it. So I definitely recommend it, especially once you meet Nikolai. I think it's really great. So yeah, this book is really anticipated for a lot of people who are Grishaverse fans, and I can't wait till January to read it. But the next book that I have on my TBR that I'm really excited for is The Wicked King by Holly Black. This book comes out on January 8th, 2019, and it is the sequel to The Cruel Prince, which Corey and I have a video on if you want to hear more of our thoughts about this book. We both loved this book, and we both have like the opposite cover editions, which are continuing through the whole series. So like you can have like the whole series, you can either have white or black covers, which is really, really cool. This book, I'm realizing now how many sequels I have on this list. I have one more book that I'm going to mention after this, and it's not a sequel. And I'm like now realizing how many like sequels I'm waiting on. I think the main problem is just because I read fantasy books, and fantasy books are like never standalones, and so like I get sucked into all these series, and it's difficult to keep up with, and then they all come out at the same time, like Muse of Nightmares and Ladies Guide came out on the same day, like what? And then this one and King of Scars are coming out within a couple weeks of each other, so like it's crazy. Anyway, back to this book. Again, I don't want to tell you what the second book's about because it's kind of a spoiler for the first book. The first book tells the story of Jude, who is swept away into this magical world of fairy, where after her parents are murdered when she was like, what, 7? 7. So her and her sisters are taken to fairy, despite the fact that she is not a fae. So it kind of deals with her experience in the fairy world, being a mortal, and also how she kind of gets wrapped up in the fae politics. So yeah, again, Corey and I have another video on this book, so if you want more of a description, you can go ahead and we'll link the link to our previous videos down below. But we loved the first book. We read them almost at the same time, like within a couple weeks of each other. And so we're both just super excited for this series to continue. And yeah, I'm very excited for the second book. So the last book on my top 5 most anticipated books on my TBR is Vicious by V.E. Schwab. You've probably been seeing, if you've been watching our videos, that Corey has been raving about this book. I knew pretty much nothing about it. From what I knew from V.E. Schwab, I know more of her YA stuff or the Darkest Shade of Magic trilogy, but I didn't really know much about Vicious. And then Corey read it a few weeks ago and loved it. Cannot stop talking about how good it is, and it makes me really want to read it. She went to go meet V.E. Schwab last week, which is really cool. And apparently she was like the nicest person to meet, which makes me want to read her books even more. Again, like I said, I don't know much about this book. I kind of know the main premise, but nothing more than like what's really listed on Goodreads. So from what I've gathered, the book is about 2 people, I think Victor and Eli, who start out as college roommates. In their senior year, this shared research experiment goes kind of wrong once it moves from academic to experimental. They're very much into researching adrenaline and near-death experiences, and seemingly supernatural events. And they think that if they can create the right conditions, they can develop extraordinary abilities. So basically, I know that one of them breaks out of prison, and the other is trying to eradicate every other superpowered person that there is in this world. Again, I don't really know much about it, but I kind of like it that way. Everyone who I've known who's read it, or I've watched online who's read it, has just been raving about it. And the sequel just came out. So pretty quickly, Vicious moved to the top of my list. Like, I really want to read it. I really want to see what all the fuss is about, and I hope I like it just as much as everyone else. Alright, so that is the end of my top 5 most anticipated books that are on my TBR. Hopefully I can get to a lot of these soon, as 3 of the 5 of them are out, and then the other 2 come out in January. I'm very excited to read them. soon, hopefully soon. Yeah, so thank you for watching me try and give you awful book summaries and things. I'm trying to throw videos together just because this is such a busy time for college students. So I'm like trying to throw videos together at times where my roommates aren't home. So yeah, thank you for listening to me incoherently talk about books. You know. So yeah, if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want more bookish content from me and Corey. Corey and I post every Tuesday and Friday on this channel, so be sure to stay tuned for our next video. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye!